Hello, my name is Michael Kriebel, and I will be doing my presentation on the common misbehaviors and the possible solutions to them. The reason I chose this topic is because I have not yet taught a classroom, and I was curious to see if my assumption of common misbehaviors was correct or not. As we all know, classroom management is a very important aspect to running an effective classroom. One category that falls under classroom management is dealing with behavioral issues and learning how to help them. There are different intensities and misbehaviors, and in this presentation, I will explain how to help them, and I will talk about the less severe and more common ones. In order to understand how to help these misbehaviors, it is helpful to explain what not to do, followed by what to do. Things that you should not do are ways tried in the past and have been proven ineffective through numerous studies. All teachers have to deal with students' misbehaviors on a daily basis. Most of the time, these problem behaviors will not cause major disruptions. However, even minor misbehaviors can lead to greater disruptions if left unchecked. The first misbehavior I will start with is a student that constantly interrupts the teacher or his peers. This can happen at the start of a lesson, in the middle of a lesson, when a student is answering a question, or at any other time. One of the old ways to treat this would be write the student up or give them a detention. As we learned throughout this course, this is merely a cover-up solution and pushes the issue under the rug for someone else to deal with. A solution to this misbehavior can involve giving them a tally sheet, and every time they interrupt or call out, they mark down a check for themselves. This creates awareness of the problem and gives the student the ability to own it. Another solution to this is to discuss at the beginning of the year the hand-raising rule. In order to speak, you have to raise your hand. This is a universal rule, and every classroom that I've been in has used this rule since kindergarten. So why do some people not follow it? That is a different problem, but the key is consistency. Ignore all answers that are shouted out without raising a hand. Another common misbehavior is a student that cannot sit still. This can include anything from fidgeting in their seat to constantly crossing their legs to walking around the classroom, which distracts other people, including the teacher. The old way to correct this was to force them to pay attention. This is done through a means that shatters the bond created with the student and makes them feel distant from the teacher. Saying pay attention has no effect whatsoever. A solution to this misbehavior can be to allow them to work wherever they choose in the classroom, as long as it's appropriate. Sitting at a desk for 8 hours straight can definitely wear on someone, and a different view can help them a lot. Another solution is to give them a movement break. Give them an errand to run to move about the school, maybe give them a bathroom break or a water break. I know personally, when I am working, around lunchtime, I start to feel myself getting a little antsy, but after lunch, I feel refreshed. Students are the same way. A little break can help a lot. Another common problem misbehavior is talking or passing notes during class. We were all students at one point in our lives, and we're all guilty of this. The funny thing about this misbehavior is that it's usually very easily fixed. An ineffective way to solve this I was used in the past would be to single out students and embarrass them or take something away from them. Again, this often just furthers the problem and creates a larger gap in the student-teacher relationship. A possible solution for this misbehavior is to give students to discuss or work with partners. This allows them to hear a different voice than just the teachers and to express their own ideas. Another solution is to ignore it. This sounds bizarre, but it's amazing what can happen from just ignoring things sometimes. If teachers corrected students every time someone whispered something to another classmate, learning would be very minimal. Instead of verbally doing something right away, just walk near the students who are talking. This helps the students realize that you are aware of the misbehavior. Another nonverbal cue is to stop talking yourself. Silence can be very loud sometimes, and the students will get the point more times than not. Another solution is to give a positive direction or reminder, followed by thanks. This is important because it focuses on the desired behavior and not on the misbehavior. An example of this, let's say we have Johnny and Joey and they're talking back and forth. You can say, hey Johnny, Joey, why don't you listen to this great stuff? Thank you. It gives the material an extra boost of, wow, I want to learn this great stuff. I want to learn this. A key component in this solution is to make sure you're keeping focus on the primary issue and know how to redirect back to it. If students feel attacked, they will argue. Arguing is a secondary issue, and the focus should be kept on the main issue, which is them talking to their classmates. The last misbehavior I will discuss is a student that debates everything. This student challenges everything that a teacher says or does. A small primary issue escalates into several major secondary ones. There are three things to keep in mind when finding a solution to misbehavior. The first one is distinguishing between the primary and secondary behavior. Do not let anything distract you from the primary problem. An example of this: Johnny, I noticed that you haven't started any problems yet. That's what the teacher would say. And he would say, yeah, well, I haven't got a pen, have I? So that's a snarky remark. Try to ignore this second behavior in the heat of the moment. Avoid any unnecessary power struggles. As a human being, even though we're a teacher and they're children, it's hard not to overreact when a student has an awful attitude or even lies about something if you know they're lying. It is important to remain calm but assertive. Always, always, always redirect to the primary issue. Lastly, plan a follow-up discussion with the student about the secondary behavior. It's important to do this at a later time when emotions calm down, but it's just as important to address it and let them know that the secondary behavior is just as unacceptable as the first one. So now that I've discussed different misbehavior problems and their possible solutions, I want to talk a little about the mistakes made by teachers in correcting these behaviors. The first mistake I will talk about is defining a behavior by how it looks. And this simply means exactly what it says. We're describing the behavior by how it looks to us. This simply means that instead of doing that, we should define it by its function, as we've learned earlier in this course in the text. There's a reason behind why the student is acting the way they are. Identifying the why is the challenge, but it gets right down to the root of the problem, which can help eliminate it permanently. Another mistake teachers make is when their approach is not working. They try harder. The problem with this is that more often than not, trying harder results in negative progress. The increased negativity results in damaged student-teacher relationships. Instead, when our approach is not working, try a different way. This is one of the many challenges to being a teacher. We need to have more than one strategy. There are a ton of examples that we can use. Redirecting, proximity control, which is just moving towards a student. There's reinforcing incompatible behaviors, changing academic tasks, and providing additional cues. The most popular time for misbehaving is during transition times. This being said, lack of planning for transition time is a great defeat for teachers. The key to reducing transition problems is to be consistent with the rules. So when you're transitioning to the next subject, you can say, everyone please quietly put away your materials and bring out the next lesson's materials. And then making sure that you tell the students this rule at the beginning of the year. A really neat thing I learned when reading different material here was to instill a timing game. So an example they gave was, students, see if you can get in line in 20 seconds. This gives the students a sense of playing a game, that they're not in school, they're actually kind of playing a game, and if they complete it successfully, make sure you give them praise as a group. The last mistake I'm going to talk about made by teachers is when to ignore behaviors. It seems that teachers fall into the trap of either ignoring everything or ignoring nothing. Obviously, this should not be the case. The only behaviors we should ignore are the ones motivated for our attention. Ignoring must be used in combination with behavior-building strategies, such as reinforcement of appropriate behaviors and teaching replacement behaviors. It is important to remain consistent with this and use good judgment on when to ignore and when not to ignore. A dangerous behavior is something not to ignore, obviously. For the last part of my presentation, I want to talk about a study that was done in Pakistan in 2013. In Pakistan, disruptive behaviors have become a great problem, and the classrooms where disruptive behaviors occur frequently get less academic engaged time, and students stand in lower category proficiency tests. So the purpose of the study was to explore types and causes of students' disruptive behaviors in the secondary schools in Pakistan. Involved in this study, there were 8 districts, which included 213 schools and 500 teachers. A questionnaire was given to the teachers, and they were asked to list different types of misbehavior shown and suggestive causes for this. The most common misbehaviors listed were trying to gain influence among their friends and peers, chatting with one another during teaching, and coming to class habitually late. None of these behaviors stick out as odd or uncommon to me. That happens right here in the United States in my own schools. The result of the causes, however, were troubling. Some of the causes included inconsistent parenting, uncaring parents, poverty, teachers' negative attitude toward students, and repeating a lesson numerous times. So these 5 causes had a total of 2,185 votes. And teachers can vote. They can either strongly agree, undecided, disagree, or strongly disagree. And out of these 2,185 votes, only 9 votes of the teachers disagreed that these were causes. That means all the rest of the votes, teachers agreed that inconsistent parenting, uncaring parents, poverty was a reason for the behaviors. This is all something that we can fix as educators and that parents can fix at home. It does not just involve the classroom, but the home life is just as important. It is crucial to encourage unity between the home life and the school life. And we talked about the relationship with parents earlier in the course. A misbehavior problem is something that has been around forever and always probably will be around. Students are not perfect and they will make mistakes. The important part for teachers is to find various solutions to help with all these behaviors. And educators of all types need to strive to implement strategies to come up with not only a successful solution, but a lasting one. Thank you.